Hello and welcome to Dubai Trains and welcome to part 2 of this operation session. And we're gonna continue where we left off. This train, we're gonna do yard works, and this train needs to be broken up. But first things first, we need to get this engine back to the terminal. And explain a little bit what we're gonna be doing today while the engine is underway. So he's off to the races, and let's have a look up here. So this is where we are in the operation session. We did the near north one previous run, and the brewery passed us. They went out, near north came back in, and that's the one that's just right here. This is the near north train, and that's the engine we're putting back. It's one we used in the previous video. And then what's coming up? So we need to break down this train, and then the Pensy Hostler is going to be out next. So just a really quick lay of the land, because we want to see some operations and not my terrible handwriting. Yes, this is my handwriting, and these are the tracks. So we have the runaround, arrival, departure, and then we have 5 tracks, but the last one's caboose track, I shall see. So we have 4 tracks. And we just came in from Milwaukee, near north. So these cars are basically probably going to go to the C&NW and to the Pensy interchange tracks. So track 3 and 6. Because there's no point to bring these cars back to the same place where they came from. So we said track 3 and 6. Yes, so this is track 1, 2, 3, and 6. That's this one. And I want to split these cars up a little bit. Like I said, we're still doing easy. Let me turn that bell off. So we're still doing simple operations. We don't have any car cards yet, so I'm not just going to make an executive decision that these 2 cars are going to go to the Pensy together with the gondola or whatever, tomato, and that car together with that flat is going here to the C&NW. So that's the decision we made. Yeah, we made it just in time because the engine is about to end that the terminal in this trip. So using a protothrottle, we're gonna turn that engine off like that, and then we're gonna load another one. Confirm, because I have a second engine that we're gonna be using today with the protothrottle, and we're gonna turn that one on. And here that engine is a little S4. I really love that guy. That's really one of my favorite engines. Probably because it's one of the first ones I bought. And it's just a cheap Bachmann model. Let's boost that up a little bit more. I'm never going to get there with the speed. And I totally pimped it out, let's say. I did so much experimenting on it. I put a Tsunami 2 decoder in there. To name one thing, I weathered it, added a figure to the top, like everything that you can do with this engine I did, and some mistakes along the way, but that's all fine. So it's really one of my favorite engines. Despite that, it didn't really cost me that much initially. After all the decoders and everything, of course, got a little bit out of hand price wise. But we don't speak about that on the channel, do we? So, I'm first going to take the caboose off. This is a shoving platform, and there's some people in there, and despite its name, they don't want to be shoved around too much. So here you see the track count as well. And the main thinking behind the track count is that this is track 2, and track 2 is the main line, let's call it, that goes all the way around the layout. And it is track 2 because some instances you have track 1 and track 0 above it, but never more than track 0. There's no minus. Sorry, there's a steam engine blowing off there in the background. And there's never a track minus or anything like that. So it's track 2 is the constant. And in some places you have track 1, and in rare cases you have track 0. So track 2, then we have the runaround, and then this is basically the yard. And I always intended this last track to be a bit of a maintenance of way slash caboose storage track. It was initially meant to be much shorter. I think the design stopped somewhere here. I didn't want to get too close to the edge, because as I was making the layout, I thought, well, I can just extend it. I don't want to extend it all the way to here, then it just does get too close to the layout, but I extended it a little bit. Now, in case I would want to do some passenger running, I have right there two 50-foot, was it converted trooper sleeper cars, something like that. But I didn't do it yet. I'm reviewing the roster, as I discussed in one of my earlier videos. So I might actually, sorry, I'm a little bit off cam there. Don't know what there's to see actually, but so like I said, I'm reviewing the roster, and I might just go ahead and add the passenger trains in there, and then start running them as well. Initially, the passenger train was more of something for myself, just a train that's, running loops around the layout, though it's point to point right now, but I can easily have a passenger train just do loops around here and keep me company, let's say. So that would be that and those 50-foot cars, and none of these 85-foot cars, because this is way too big for this layout. I have a bud as well, but that's also not going to work. The bud is also way too big. So what we're going to do, let's take a little bit of a breather. It's really heavy. Just assume these loads are really heavy, so let me ramp up that little diesel engine there. Like I said, these two cars in the gondola are going to go to the Pensy right here, and that first one and that one, the first one, that one, they're going to this track right here. So we're just going to start stacking them up. Just going to do them all one by one. Now you might think, should we not put these two reefers on the icing track right there? And no, because this is both a dairy in this case, and they're empty because they're coming from Chicago, and there is no dairy farm in the middle of Chicago. They came there to unload, so they're empty. So there's no need to ice or anything like that. So let me change camera views so we can see this a little bit better. I think maybe something like that. Maybe. Yeah, this is a great view. This is the view I'm going to use for today, because then we have all the action of the train coming in, all the turnouts, and where I'm going to spot them on these tracks. And don't forget, the Pensley is going out. So once we're all done, we're going to take this whole string of cars, there's 1 or 2 more there, and then spot them on the track and get ready to depart. And you'll see that this is going to go quite fast. These classification actions or steps or maneuvers are, the classification work is really, if you're organized, especially with the car system, it's so fast. You just ping them all away, and you need that as well. It's a busy layout, and we got a lot of trains originating and terminating here, so you do need to be able to work fast, because otherwise you're just going to clog the yard. And that one, yes. Sorry, otherwise you're not going to clog the yard, otherwise you're going to clog the whole layout. If you cannot get the car count done in this area, it's just going to all pile up. But like I said, it goes really quick, so it's not really an issue. There was, at some point, I don't know where it was, somewhere on YouTube, where someone who made an actual hump yard in O-scale, and they said it was just so efficient, it's so fast, that you can't really, it's too fast. You see, a hump yard feeds a layout, feeds a railroad network in real life, and you need to mimic that in your model. And if you have such fast yard and hump yard operations, then you just can't move those trains fast enough to your layout, and your layout can't be big enough to justify such a feature on your layout. Unless it is the layout, if you just want to do hump yard operations all day long. I don't know how interesting that would be. I still need to rework that engine a little bit. Sorry, let's rework the engine a little bit. I want it to accelerate a little bit quicker and flatten off a little bit more, so I have to go through the notches a bit more. Now I'm just using only notch 1 to 4. And it can also brake a little bit quicker for my taste. And also, if you see the guy from the Seaboard Central, I think. He's an old railroad engineer. He has his own YouTube channel. Just check for Seaboard Central. And he was, I think, one of the testers or the programmers of the protothrottle. And if you see how he programs his engines, they're actually surprisingly fast. I would think that they would be much slower and more sluggish in real life. But apparently they're quite nimble at times. And don't forget, you're also replicating the load that a train has. And in my case, it's, realistically speaking, with maximum 8 cars, not a lot of load. So I think you'll see it's going to be a bit of a quick one today. I need to think. So this whole string of cars here is going to the Pensy interchange. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars already. It's fine. The interchange, you see it here in the background, is the car float that holds 14 spots. So this is and this is only one half of the run. There's going to be another run later to fill up the float. And it can be one giant shove, where you have the shoving platform at the beginning, and then you just shove it all the way through near north. But I think I'm going to do, am I going to do that? Yeah, let's do that. It'll be nice. Because someone's in the comments like, oh, it's so far away on your railroad that, realistically speaking, that in real life, the blow off thingamajig. I'll just keep talking over it. That, realistically speaking, in real life, they would put the caboose on the other side. They wouldn't shove it all the way through Chicago downtown. But it does look great to shove it. So let's just stick to the realistic side of things. So what does that basically mean? It means we're going to first take the entire string, and then we're going to plot the caboose at the end. Or I can just take the caboose now and just use it to put the whole string of cars there. Let me just do that. Saves us a little bit of a move. One thing I noticed that I did wrong when using the protothrottle is that the default, the brake is actually almost always on. I only use the brake like with a car, like you press the pedal, and once you stopped and the car is in park, you take the brake off. But actually it's coming in hard. The default setting is like now you just leave it on until you need to use the engine for something else. So normally I would now put it back and then switch this and then throttle up. But I think the correct way to do it is to leave the brake on. First change direction, then brake off, and then accelerate. I have a whole string of cabooses. I only need one. So I'm just going to take the first one again. And this is also one of the reasons why I need to rework the roster, is that I always want to have two, I have 4 engines on the layout, and I always want to have a minimum of 2 out during the day. Sometimes 3, and the 4th one is here on the yard. So sometimes maximum will be 3. Because then we would also get to the back of the caboose. Now we're always just using the first 1 or 2. That's all. Yeah, let me see. Let's get this whole string. Now here, let me show you a little bit the difference between the soundtracks and the ESU decoders. There's a couple on here. And the big difference is in this button right here on the top. So I'm just going to explain how it is now, because now we're with soundtracks. So I'm just going to take the brake off, and this button, I'm going to press it, and in our case right now, it's straight to 8. So that means we're mimicking a very, very heavy train. So see, we're really gearing up, we're going up these notches, generating a lot of power with the generator, applicably named, and we're barely moving. And then as we're slowly notching up, we pick up speed because we have more power to overcome the resistance, all the cars, etc., etc. 2, we gain enough speed, and then we start notching down again. And in this case, we're on notch number 3, so that's where the sound will also stop at notch number 3. That's how it works with soundtracks. With ESU, it's a little bit different, because here basically you select which sound you want to play. So it's going to be either straight to 8 or idle. That can also be useful, but there's only one button. And what you do with ESU is here you hold the speed, and you can change the sound by moving the notch lever, whatever it's called. I'm sure there's another word for that. I'm butchering it, sorry, but when you can change the sound by the lever. So that gives a little bit more flexibility in some cases, because you can play basically any sound that is matching the notch that you want to replicate. So I think especially if you do a lot of mainline running, that's very handy. Or if you have hills and grades. For a switching operation like this, you're constantly switching and changing speed. So that straight to 8 works fine. Fine enough. Well enough for me. So we're just going to park this on track number 2. So then an engine can come around, pick up the cars, and arrivederci, leave. So you see that went really quick. One thing to note, just before we sign off, yard capacity. I didn't say anything about yard capacity, but the yard should never be full. If your yard is full, it cannot function well. For your yard to function well, it needs to be, what I found, maximum like a third full to half full. So maximum half full, but ideally a third full. So that's something you can see here as well. If I just zoom out a little bit, show you the entire yard. Then you'll see that, mostly the end actually. This is the RP tracks. All these tracks from here to here are empty for now. They will be full later. There's some cars there. We just took that car off. And that works really well. If you have too many cars, you're just going to clog it all up. So let me see. Let's get back to the list. So the brewery's still out. That guy is actually going to come in quite soon. You can see that. It's going to come in. The Pensley Hostler has to go out first. And somewhere is going to meet the brewery. Don't know where yet. Probably near north. That'll be a cool site. The brewery train still needs to be done. So that's something we're going to do next time. This is just a short video for today. I guess it's probably going to be like 10 minutes or so, 12 minutes. And then the CM St. Paul MP, so otherwise known as the Milwaukee, that is going to be an interesting one. That's probably going to be a really long video. I need to prepare that a little bit. So that way the yard works, and you see you don't need to overcomplicate it. Have a very basic yard, very basic setup. That's all you need. Just some engine in the back, one runaround. I have a servicing track there, the icing track. Just one track here for some caboose. Ideally, you would place that on the other side, near the engine facility, but I explained that why I put it here. And then just a few tracks right there, nothing more, nothing less. And this will feed the beast of the layout. So just to complete it for today, I left the brake on as a habit I'm trying to do. Turn the lights off, should be in neutral. Bum, bum, bum. And then turn the engine off. And there we go. That's it for today. Thank you guys all for watching. Bye-bye.
Looking to support the model railroading community? Check out the Dubai Trains Patreon page to find out how you can contribute.